Welcome to the Television Podcast here in the River's Edge Online Radio Network. I'm your host, Vincent Didiano, telling you what I think about TV. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since we had done a television episode. Last time was for CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh, gotta turn that off. There we go. That's all right. By that time, I was joined by my nerdy friend, Chris Mohan, comedian. Please go check him out. But this time, I'm joined by my other nerdy friend, Michael Phillips, who last time we got together, we were reviewing the Shining sequel, Dr. Sleep.
Indeed,
yes. But now we're talking about a show that a show of a franchise that we've grown up with, that most nerds have, and something that we have talked about recently, but not completely because I was a few episodes behind. But ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about Star Trek Picard. The second of two new Star Trek series that have popped up on the CBS streaming service, CBS All Access. Mike, I know I've talked about, because first they came out with Discovery, and I know I've mentioned Discovery a few times on either here on television or on P.O. Vincent doing movie reviews. I've made it known I did not like Discovery. I know how you feel, but you want to tell the audience how you feel about Discovery?
you mean STD?
Yeah, yes.
Not Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Picard, but I will say that they did slightly more research. I don't want to say how much more research, but slightly more research. Discovery, they literally, I think, read summaries on Wikipedia, and they're like, "We got it." So, yeah. Oh, Discovery.
Yeah, as I've said before many times, I got 3 episodes in and I was done, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that they made Michael Burnham, the main character, just completely unlikable in my book. I've heard she got better.
No.
Okay.
I sat through all 2 seasons. No, she's a completely emotional, unstable wreck the entire time.
Yeah.
And she becomes like a Messiah Jesus Christ figure later, which is ridiculous. Yeah. The only good things about that show is Saru, Doug Jones, and Chris Pike in season 2 is good.
Yeah. I heard it was off to a good start because of his character, but because they heard like there was a lot of complaints by the fandom that the show is too dark and grim and stuff, and they brought in Pike, who had a much more lighthearted personality and was more fun. Is that accurate? Because I didn't watch.
He was good. He was solid.
Solid.
It's just that it still wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, still wasn't Star Trek. Special effects were great.
Oh yeah. The production was fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
the sets look great.
It looks good. It's a little too dark, obviously, but I mean, in terms of it looks good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the one thing I couldn't hold against Discovery was the special effects were like movie quality.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not talking about Discovery. We're talking about the second of these new shows, as I said, Star Trek Picard, which brought back Patrick Stewart as one of the most famous, most beloved Star Trek captains ever, Jean-Luc Picard. So let's get into it. The basic storyline is that Picard has now been retired for at least 14 years. He's retired to his family vineyard, which is funny because he's stayed away from the vineyard for most of the time during Star Trek, but he's retired, and this is years after the collapse of the Romulan Empire due to their star going supernova, which is something they carried over from the Star Trek movie with the new cast. And the Romulans are now immigrants and refugees spread throughout the galaxy. They blame the Federation, and on top of that, a mysterious girl comes into Picard's life, and is connected to a former Star Trek character, and because of that connection, Picard becomes very invested in this young girl. All right, so that's the basic plot as far as the first episode. Well, synopsis, I'm sorry, the basic synopsis that the first episode lays down. Like I said, this review, just to make it clear, we are just reviewing the first half of Star Trek Picard Season 1, which is episodes 1 through 5. There's a total of 10 episodes for the season, just covering the first half. We will, of course, come back and do another episode when episodes 6 through 10 are released. At the time of this recording, episode 6 just was released a few days ago. So just wanted to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about. All right, so Star Trek Picard. Just give the synopsis. Okay, Mike, as a guest, do you want to give your initial thoughts first, or do you want me to go first?
You decide.
Okay, I'll go first. My initial thoughts are they didn't make me hate Picard like they did with like the main character Discovery, as we were just talking about earlier. I'm having the same trouble that I'm having with Discovery, where it doesn't feel like we're in Star Trek right now. Because as we'll go on to talk about, I'm sure they've made a lot of changes. A lot of things have changed since the end of Star Trek Nemesis, which was the last time we were in the Star Trek universe of the original timeline. Uh, uh,
Because the Countdown comics have been wiped from continuity, even though they were said to be continuity when they first came out.
Mike, continuity is not a word that Hollywood executives know about. They don't
Not
understand.
anymore.
Not any- I'll say there's been a lot of changes that have altered the way the Star Trek universe is. I think Patrick Stewart is still doing a pretty good job as far as performance-wise goes, though there's certain things that have changed about Jean-Luc. There's a lot of new characters. A lot of them I don't really care about. We'll go into that more later. And there's some things that contradict events that happened in Next Generation. So I don't know if I hate this show. I'll say that I'll say this much: if it wasn't for the fact that Jean-Luc Picard was in it, I'm not sure if I'd still be watching. So those are my initial thoughts. Mike, what are your initial thoughts?
There's not a lot of trekking going on in those stars anymore. I'll say that. I don't. I was very. I was like cautiously enthusiastic when I first heard about it. I mean, after what I saw them do to Discovery, I was like, this could go bad. But I do love Jean-Luc Picard. He was always my favorite captain. Patrick Stewart's like a not just a national treasure; he's a global treasure. So yeah, I was on board. And it's progressively as the series has gone on, I've become increasingly more disappointed. It started off with some hope, a little bit for me, and a few f-bombs and deaths and butcheries of Roddenberry's vision later, and now I'm not sure how I feel. I don't hate it. I'll say that I like it more than Discovery. Discovery is still worse to me. At least, like I said before, there is some attempt. There's some small attempt to connect some dots to things we've previously seen. Whereas Discovery just is a continuity disaster. This one, like they call on certain things, like the whole, what do you call it, the frontal lobe, like illness that Patrick Stewart has.
Oh yeah. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it came up at that season.
All Good Things,
All Good Things,
finale of Next Generation.
Yeah.
They call back on certain things, and it's like, oh, they remembered that, or they looked up on Wikipedia, whichever. But, you had Michael Chabon get involved as a showrunner. He's respected. He's an author. And you had Patrick Stewart on as a producer as well. So, unfortunately, Alex Kurtzman, who is responsible for all of the disastrous Star Treks lately, is also on board. And
Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of the issues with the show can be attributed to him.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sorry.
We're similar. We're in the same boat pretty much, though. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm still reserving judgment until I get to the end of it. But there's definitely things along the way that I have not liked.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna get in. So it seems like you and I are on the same page. Which I kind of knew we were ahead of time, but I didn't know if things had changed since I've caught up. I didn't know but yeah, looks like we're still on the same page. So we're gonna go episode by episode. We're not gonna cover every single little detail, but we are gonna cover little we can, and we'll. I kind of want to Usually I like to hold off for a while before getting into spoilers about stuff, but I don't know. Okay, we'll I'll announce that. We won't get into spoilers right away. I'm itchy to talk. But anyway, so episode 1 is called Remembrance. And as I stated earlier in the synopsis, Jean-Luc is now retired on his vineyard, his family vineyard, just making wine. He's got a couple of Romulan...
Servants?
not
it's weird. They're kind of
there's like a Romulan servant
butlers?
employees. He's got a couple of, we'll say, Romulan employees. Yeah. One of them has a Scottish accent or something, and I'm
Irish.
Irish
Which is
accent.
kind of weird.
For Romulan.
We've had British Romulans before, so...
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So some people are getting a little weird about that. But that's one thing. You can throw a British accent on anything and people will accept it. I remember my father always said growing up, watching old movies where it's like Roman officers and stuff like that, he always found it funny how the Romans are technically ancient Italians, but they always have British guys playing them. So,
I did appreciate that they started off with the vineyard, because that's where we saw his future to be in All Good Things. So there's some connections to that. I would have liked them to address his family that burned to death there, though, in Generations. Like, if people didn't watch Star Trek Generations, Picard's brother and nephew burned to death in a fire on the chateau, and it was a big deal for him because that was the death of the Picard lineage, and he was the last Picard, and that was like a huge deal. So I feel like that should have been brought up because that's kind of a big deal.
Well, maybe at the end of the show, the mystery girl will be like, like, who am I really? And then she pulls a Ray at the end of Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, I'm my last name's Picard or something. Maybe they're
There's
gonna
been rumors that the biological part of her is somehow connected to Picard, but I think that we've gotten far enough along where it seems unlikely that's going to be brought up. But one thing I forgot to mention, though, is the very opening of it opens in a dream sequence of the Enterprise D back in Next Generation.
Oh yeah. So
Forward.
minor spoiler there. You see it in the trailer. He's playing
Card game.
He's playing poker because at the end of All Good Things, finally Picard joins the other bridge crew to play the poker that we would see them play, every several episodes or whatever. It was a nice little touching moment that he finally kind of like he's loosening up a little bit, admitting everyone means something to him. He's still staying professional with them, but he's like, I should have joined you to play cards years ago. Anyway, so the episode goes on where he breaks up with his.
Well, we didn't address the person that he's playing cards with. It's
Data. Yes, it is
Brent
Data.
Spiner returning in the role with some de-aging. I'm not sure how much it's makeup or effects, but it looked pretty good. It's interesting. A lot of people are calling out. They're like, Data is so important to Picard in this show. It's like he's in love with him. He was indifferent towards him on the series. That's not completely true.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off, I think, more indifferent, but his respect and admiration for him grew throughout the series, and he took on like a mentor figure to him.
Yeah.
And then in the movies, they grew much closer. It seemed like.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing. This is something that they're not talking about a lot, but I think the biggest reason why he is so hung up on Data is because he feels incredible guilt because Data sacrificed himself for Picard's mess.
Yes.
Like Picard viewed Shinzon, the villain of Nemesis, his clone, as his responsibility. And Data killed himself stopping something that Picard felt responsible for. So I think that the guilt of that is what's made him obsessed about Data and having dreams about him. But,
Okay. Because throughout most of Next Gen, Picard was very professional. He was, like you say, he was indifferent. He was a career Starfleet officer, so he didn't try to get too close to any of the staff members. So of course he grew respect for everybody from Riker to Troy to. He already had respect for Crusher. Was the closest person. Was it?
Well, Riker and him were pretty close too. There's jokes about the fact that they seem very, very chummy.
Yeah. Well, his first officer, I assume.
He even names his dog number 1 in this show.
Oh yeah, we see. Yeah, we meet his dog, which was cute, kind of cute and so kind of funny. So the episode, we got that dream sequence. He wakes up. He's like, oh god. But the dream sequence, we're not going to say how the dream sequence ends because we'll get into that. But so it turns out he wakes up on the day that's the anniversary of when the Romulan Empire was dispersed due to the fact that their sun in their home solar system exploded, went supernova.
Which the process takes a long, long time, so they would have had a huge notice.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. So this is a plot point that's carried over from what was that? Was it 2009?
It was the 2009 J.J. Abrams movie, the Prime Universe that Spock came from. That's where the supernova occurred.
Yeah.
So this is back in the Prime Universe. Well, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so because in that movie they made it out to be like the sun was going supernova and it was happening super quick, like it came out of nowhere and they're like, oh, we only have like a day or something. Spock had to fly in with the red matter. In Picard here, they're making it out to be like, oh no, they had like weeks or maybe even months.
No, it was a couple years.
Couple years.
Yeah, it's a couple years.
Okay.
Because the timeline was that I guess Romulus became aware of the sun going supernova, and they contacted the Federation for help because apparently they didn't have the ship, enough ships to evacuate the entire planet. So the Federation, led by Picard, started developing, ships on Mars, and then of course the whole. I mean,
we're gonna get.
It's even a spoiler. It's how the show opens.
Yeah,
you literally are told this in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's all very.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
No. Yes. Yeah. There's a huge tragedy on Mars in the Starfleet shipyards.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
fuck, you know what? I can't hold back anymore.
yeah. That's not even a spoiler.
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
so
we're gonna go. You know, fuck it. We're going into spoilers. I'm just gonna say fucking right now. I can't fucking hold back anymore because,
the thing is, it's not. Yeah, to me, like we can talk about this easily.
yeah.
I mean, but like, it basically
Oh,
though, that whole Measure of a Man sequence where Guinan's talking to Picard about the dangers of developing synthetics and
oh
how
yeah,
they
yeah,
could
yeah.
be turned into a slave force, and Picard's like, you're talking about slavery, and basically this becomes realized, and Picard is literally in charge of this mission that is using this synth slave,
Yeah.
group to develop these ships.
Yeah, so I'm saying fuck it, we're going into spoilers now because I can't hold back anymore.
Okay.
I'm fucking so yeah. So it's all revealed in the fact that he's being interviewed by some kind of Federation journalist, it's a live stream interview to like the Galaxy or something. And he's being interviewed, and they're asking him, and before the interview happens, his like Romulan, I don't want to say servants because that sounds weird. The two Romulans that live with him on the vineyard and like run the shit for him because he's an old man now.
Just give into the darkness, Vincent. The show already has.
Yeah.
You know
So
how
they tell him like we talked to the journalist and she's not going to ask you the questions that you don't want to be asked. She does. She gets it. So the star he went to the Federation, told the Federation we need to save the Romulans. When they're asked for our help, we should give them help. And apparently the Federation was hesitant about it, but Picard convinced them to do it. But then, because at some point after Nemesis, after Data died, Bruce Maddox, who was a character in TNG that wanted to dissect Data, believing that Data was just a machine and not a sentient being, and they had a whole episode where Data was established to be sentient, and he had the freedom to say no. But it also revealed in TNG that him and Bruce Maddox did stay in touch, just because he was Data one is like he can create more of his. If he can create more androids like him, then he has a species. He has a people. And Picard, we found out that they did make more androids, but there's debate as to whether they were sentient or not. Either way, they're basically being used to build shit for the Federation, or at least Starfleet. And we got to make that distinction because some people get that mixed up. Starfleet is not the Starfleet is the Federation's military in a sense. Their priority is supposed to be exploration. Well, they're set up like a military. They have captains, lieutenants, and all that
Well, the
stuff.
Federation is all the planets that are members of this giant like space force, basically.
Yeah,
It's
Space
all these
United
species.
Nations.
Starfleet is specific to San Francisco to Earth.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, basically.
Yeah, that's the difference. But of course, Starfleet will come to the aid of any member of the Federation.
Yeah.
But yeah. So some people get mixed up, saying like, "Oh, Starfleet and the Federation are the exact same team." They're not. They're technically separate, but but Starfleet is at the disposal of Federation planets.
So it is revealed though that these synthetics
Rebelled.
rebelled, and they basically killed everybody in the planet, destroyed all the shipyards, and afterwards the Federation was like, meh, let the Romulans die.
Yeah. So, and this brings up a whole, and like the journalist who's interviewing Picard is digging into him. You can tell that she wants to like make him look out to be, and he freaks out. He goes on and like, "Fuck you! What the Federation turned their backs on the Romulans? It wasn't only just dishonorable; it was criminal." Like he unloads on her, and then he walks away from the interview, and I'm like, "Oh, that didn't look too good." So this brings up a lot of questions. One. The Federation has been at odds with the Romulans for many years. When they were reintroduced in TNG, it was established that they not encountered Romulans for a long time. They became allies during the Dominion War of Deep Space Nine. So that was going on. They was like, well, we have to team up because the Dominion's going to come after everybody sooner or later. It wasn't that like, come on, let's be friends. It's more like we got a better chance if we work together. And then, of course, there was the events of Star Trek Nemesis.
Which was kind of like, the beginnings of peace talks. And,
Yeah.
Then Romulus blows up. Which in the movie, again, the J. James movie, they make it look like it's very suddenly, but it turns out it's not in the show. They're saying it was like a 2-year process. And
Yeah. And even so, this has been brought up, and I'm tending to agree with it. You see, the Federation space is massive because it encompasses like dozens of other worlds. The Romulan Empire is just a Romulan Empire, but it still covers a large chunk of territory in outer space.
Yeah.
And they've been known to be very technologically advanced on the same level as Starfleet, or even greater in some aspects. Some people have stated they might be more technologically advanced. But either way, the Romulans are an impressive species in terms of technology and how much territory they
I
control.
mean, it's arguable they're even more technologically advanced than Starfleet.
Oh yeah,
Also.
no, yeah, I just said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So the question has been brought up: did the Romulans need the Federation to help them out?
Well, it turns out, I don't know how this information is available, but the population of Romulus is nuts. Like, Romulus, the planet, is like 3 or 4 times the size of Earth. Like, so there's like 180 billion citizens or something.
Oh, okay.
So it's something insane like that. So some nerd online did the math, and basically they said that, like, it would take like 4 times as long as the time frame they had to like get everyone off the planet. I forget, some nerd on Reddit or something that figured out, like, they did all the math and everything.
Holy shit!
But it's like so yeah, it turns out they probably would need help, but also the Romulans have their own allies and other means of getting out of there. It also begs the question how Nero, the villain in the '09 movie, how his family wasn't able to get removed since he had a mining ship. I just would have said, screw my mining job. I'm going to get my family off the planet.
Yeah, but once again, in the movie, to make it out to be like the
was
sun
very
going
segmented.
supernova was going to happen like in a fucking day.
But yeah, so I mean, there's a very Blade Runner kind of thing going on here where
Yeah.
synthetics were being used for like slave labor and the synthetics turned on their masters. Apparently so, but since we're in spoiler territory, there is a indication that they were actually programmed to rebel.
Yes.
Because the synthetic that turns on these humans in the facility,
Who treat him like shit.
yeah, his eyes kind of have this weird little glitch, and they make you think that he got orders from somebody unknown as of yet. So it seems like it's a giant conspiracy that someone conspired to have this happen, to stop the rescue of the Romulans, which is weird because the Romulans are kind of the villains, so why would they sabotage their own rescue armada? I don't know, but they hate synthetics apparently. Oh, we'll get into that. I'm getting way ahead.
Yeah, we'll get that's for episode 2 territory. Yeah, we'll get into it. So anyway, the interview goes to hell. Picard retreats, and then we switch to a young woman who's in her apartment with her boyfriend. I think it was like in Boston or something, something like that. And her and her boyfriend are having a romantic night. They're drinking some wine, and all of a sudden, these guys dressed all in black, beam into their apartment, fucking kill the boyfriend by throwing a dagger in his heart. And then they toss her around and put a bag over their head.
Can I just say this scene is the beginning of like dialogue that I really hate in the show? She's like, dude, just like listen to me. Like she's calling him dude and stuff. It's like, have you ever heard someone say dude in Star Trek? I mean, I'm pretty sure that word is dead by the time Star Trek takes place. It's also with the cursing. Like, everyone, like, sheer fucking hubris.
Oh, we'll get into that, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's like, the way they have people speaking the show, it's like they're trying to make it contemporary with our time, and they're like, they won't relate if they speak the way they normally do, so we gotta make all the young people relate with the show. You're losing something, though, in it, because it now... It's just dumb. I hate it.
Okay.
You might as well start saying radical and tubular while you're at it. It's just so stupid.
All right, but anyway, so these guys come in, and all of a sudden, this young woman who, her name is Dodge?
Yeah.
Dodge, something changes in her, and all of a sudden she goes...
Becomes activated, they say.
She comes activated, and she goes all...
John Wick on everybody.
who's the chick from Firefly?
Summer Cloud.
River. She goes all River on them and starts whooping their asses, and she gets away, or they beam out or something. I don't remember exactly, but her boyfriend's dead in a puddle of his own blood, and they capture her by beating her around for a minute, but then they put a bag on her head, and I'm watching this like, okay, why didn't they just phaser stun her? Or like there's like it's Star Trek. They have many different ways. But they're doing it like a modern day like Black Ops thing where they're putting the bag over the head, stun her, hit her with a hypo spray to knock her out. Like what is going? Why are they being so unnecessarily violent here? It doesn't make sense. To me.
It's also kind of weird because it seems like their mission is to kill her, but then also I don't know.
There's something conflicting going on here.
You know what? This going chronologically through some events might be a little difficult because like there's other things to talk about. I don't know. Should we continue chronologically? Do you think?
God damn it! All right.
It's chronological stuff might be hard, and also we might not get to everything if we do it like that.
Yeah, fuck it. All right, free for all time.
Okay, all right. So let's just get into this then. Okay,
All right.
like so Picard through some really awful investigating means, like with magic technology that can recreate past events. I hate the technology stuff in the show, by the way.
Yeah, it reminds me of the scene of season 1 of The Flash where they did something very similar.
Yeah, there's like this device where it's like a molecular reconstructor or something like
Yeah.
that, and it can read all the molecules in the air and then resequence them back together to recreate a past event so clearly you can see the pores in people's skins and hear what they're saying. Stupid as hell. Anyways, so through this and his servants, which is basically what they are, they basically inform him that they suspect that this group that attacked Dodge is members of this secret organization within the Romulan Empire called the Zotvash, even more secret than the
Wait, how is that? Is it Zotvash or Jotvash? Jotvash or Zotvash?
Zotvash.
Zotvash? I don't know.
But-
I just call them the Super Tal Shiar.
Yeah, it's like the MIB to CIA. I mean, it's like this super secret organization, and like beyond even more than Tal Shiar.
Yeah,
like
they've
which
been
is-
around since the beginning of Romulus or something like that.
And the core of their fundamental beliefs is a pure hatred for synthetic life.
Yeah, so robots, androids, the Borg, I assume, extends to that.
Which is bizarre because never once in the history of Star Trek has Romulans ever showed any kind of disgust towards synthetic life. As a matter of fact, in an episode called The Defector in TNG, there was a Romulan
Oh yeah, I remember this episode. Yeah.
politician that defected to the Federation, and while on the ship, he was enamored with Data. He was so amazed by him, and he actually befriended him, sort of, and he was a member of the Tal Shiar. I mean, but apparently the Tal Shiar isn't even aware of the Zotvash, except somehow Picard's servants are, because they heard it over a drunken conversation or something. But the twist is that Daj is actually a synthetic biological life form, the first of her kind, and that she actually is recreated from parts of Data's positronic net.
They say that the theory was theorized by Bruce Maddox, who I brought up earlier, who's the guy who wanted to dissect Data, but they in TNG, but they became friends. That the idea was that you could totally recreate Data or his memories or something like that from a single one of his positronic neurons, which, I mean, considering how complex they always made Data out to be in TNG, that he was the most advanced android ever made, and how hard it was to recreate, to build another positronic brain like his, which is what made Data special. That just sounds preposterous to me. That like, we can't just. It's hard to build a whole new one, but we just take one of his positronic neurons. We can just magically grow a new Data or a similar. I'm like, sure.
So,
Yeah, but Data blew up. So where would they? Did
it's
Data
called
give?
fractal neuronic cloning, isn't it?
I think that's what they said.
So
yeah.
that's like if I took a piece of your brain and I just recreated your entire brain, including all your memories and intellect, and because apparently when they're activated, they start having these weird flashes of Picard and stuff like that. So it's implied that they have Data's memory somewhere in there. They just need
something like that.
Yeah, so it's preposterous. The technology in the show just doesn't. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I used to love about Star Trek, though. It's one of the things I used to love. I used to love that there was like an internal logic to the technology. Yeah, some of it was fantastical, but it always they made it make sense. This show, it's like the equivalent of Star Wars technology. It's just like, it just does things.
Yeah.
And it's not Star Trek.
That's the problem when you get into sci-fi. Here's the thing: sci-fi or fantasy, things that are beyond us. You could say like, "Oh, calm down. It's just a movie or show where people do this and things like this happen." But here's the thing: you still have to have a general rules to keep things grounded. Because when you start flying off and just saying, "Oh, well, they can do this now and they can do this," it's like you're taking too many big leaps forward or away. It creates a disconnect with what we've seen before in the show or movie or whatever have you. With Star Trek, it's just like I'm all for the introduction of new technologies. Like in TNG, they introduced the holodeck. The holodeck is now one of the most famous Star Trek technologies. It was a big introduction into that new era of Star Trek. And and a lot of episodes were based around holographic technology. Hell, in Voyager, we get the Doctor. He was a holographic. The Doctor was a hologram, and there was a lot of stories built around him. He became part of the main cast. But that was all kind of like, oh yeah, I can believe that stuff. Because they didn't like go crazy with it right off the bat. It's holograms. We've heard about that in sci-fi before. Yeah, with this it's just weird. I don't know. So apparently, so we meet Daj, who is the girl who's getting attacked by the guys in black, who we later find out are like these Jatvash or Zadvash Romulans, super Taushiar, I'm going to call them.
Super secret.
Yeah.
Vincent.
She seeks out Picard. And then they find out through him going to the Daystrom Institute, which was like the big science research place, where he meets Agnes, a colleague of Bruce Maddox, who has also been studying synthetics. And there's not a lot of research going on since the synthetics on Mars went haywire. She explains to Picard like, oh yeah, we thought we could clone Data, and that's when we find out that Daj was Data's clone daughter, or no, Picard figures it out earlier because Data made a painting of her years ago, and I guess Bruce Maddox, when he made Daj, he designed her physical appearance off the painting that Data made.
I guess out of respect for Data, I guess.
Yeah.
And then somehow this process, which I don't know how, apparently it just poops out too. It's
yeah.
Like, so the process.
They just explain like it's like every time you would do it, it would definitely have to be twins. That's how they make it out to be.
Yeah, they're saying that the fractal neuronic cloning that it always creates two. It's like, why? You're building something literally from scratch. It's like saying if I started making a car, then another car would poop next to it. It's like that's not how it works. You're building a synthetic life form. Why would there be two?
Well, that's the interesting thing about, and we find out the other twin's name is Soji. Eventually, here's the thing: they're not synthetic. They're flesh and they're flesh and blood, but they're programmed.
It is a lot like Blade Runner again. Like
they're very replicant-y. Yeah.
If you look at the way they create the replicant, especially in the second movie, 2049, they show the process a bit. It seems like that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
A lot of originality here.
Yeah. Yeah. So they didn't go with it that she's an android that looks human, because Data, had that pale skin, he had the yellow eyes, but we met other androids. There's that episode of TNG where Data meets his mother, and it turns out that the real woman died, but his dad.
And she has some biocomponents. As a matter of fact, she was able to fool sensors. Because Dr. Soong didn't want her to know she was an android and wanted her to live out her life. They could have just done that with her, but no, she's flesh and blood. She bleeds. We see her bleed. At the end of the first episode, Daj is killed by the Jatvash, the Super Taushiar, because the one guy has a cyanide pill in his mouth. He has an acid pill that eats him and her, and then did she explode, or did the rifle explode? It started to melt her, and then the rifle exploded. But it's like a toxic acid capsule that he bit and spat on her.
And she's got super agility. I never saw Data jump. Did you see that when she's like kicking their ass? She goes all River Song on them again, and at the end of the episode, the new guys, and she leaps like 50 fucking feet.
She's an upgrade. I
guess.
But yeah,
she's dodging fucking phaser, Romulan disruptor blasts.
You don't have to censor yourself. This show doesn't.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can we talk about the fucking cursing in this goddamn fucking show?
Yeah, we'll talk about the big one. A lot of people are talking about. So after Picard finds out that he has to go, he has to go into space and find the other sister, because he has to repay Data for saving him by saving his daughter. Anyway, he goes to Starfleet. Hasn't been there in years. And he goes to one of the admirals and says, I need a ship. Just reinstate me. I won't take admiral. You can just demote me to captain. I just need a ship with a small crew, blah, blah, blah. And she looks him straight in the face and says, the fucking hubris of you.
She says sheer fucking
hubris of you.
Yeah.
Because he's asking for a ship after saying Starfleet and the Federation were criminals with the way in that intergalactic live stream.
It was crazy how quickly that conversation took a 180.
Yeah.
She gets, bloodthirsty angry at him very quickly.
Yeah. I will say, in defense of this character that I think was only that one episode, she's not completely wrong. It is arrogant of Picard to show up and ask for a ship after what he said on camera to the whole galaxy. I wasn't surprised that she denied him a ship at all. But yeah, she does go pretty volcanic on him real fucking quick. And a lot of people have brought up, like, because they didn't cuss in Star Trek before. This wasn't the thing that was done. And I
The
want
only moment was when Data said, "Oh shit," when the Enterprise was about to crash in Generations. But I mean, it makes sense because he has a data bank filled with dialect and language throughout human history. So I mean, he just pulled on something he thought was appropriate for the moment.
Yeah.
But for people, just don't talk like we talked about Star Trek: The Voyage Home.
I was about to bring it up. Yeah.
Do you want to carry
Yeah,
that?
yeah. In Star Trek: The Voyage Home, that's the movie where they go back in time because they got to grab a couple of whales because there's a giant whale probe destroying Earth. And they have to bring it back to the future, and they're interacting with the locals of the 1980s San Francisco, and it's the scene where they're getting on the bus, right? They're trying to get on the bus,
There's
right?
actually more than one scene.
Yeah,
There's a
and
couple scenes where this
people
comes up.
around him are cussing, saying "fuck" and shit and all that stuff, and they're taken back by it because like they don't use those words in the future, and like Kirk is kind of aware. It's like, oh, this is how they used to talk back then. They were more
He
colorful.
says, colorful metaphors.
Colorful metaphors. Spock is totally confused. He's like, I don't know what those words mean. He's like, he just realizes that they're angry with him.
And there's a funny part where the cabbie, he's like, dumbass, like, well, a double dumbass on you.
Yeah,
He kind of says
yeah,
that to
that's
him.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing: if they'd never had that scene in Star Trek 4 to explain the cussing and all that stuff, I would be fine. I'd be kind of fine because like one of the producers brought up. Yeah, I think it was one of the producers brought up in an interview saying, "Well, in the old shows, it was it was a television show on a major network. Of course they couldn't cuss. But we're not on that anymore. We're on a streaming service and we're allowed to be a little edgier. So, they didn't cuss because they couldn't cuss for TV. So, but now that we can, it's like, okay, I could accept that if for once again this has been brought up in Star Trek where they don't cuss but this is all about like Starfleet and the Federation. It is made out to be that they've become very corrupt. That because it's
getting into that now.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
shit.
yeah. Because like this whole thing with the Romulan is obviously a parallel to immigrants and refugees in our world, which I've heard is something I heard this maybe one of the things that Patrick Stewart himself wanted to be in the show, talking about making real world events and integrating the Star Trek. Which, let's be honest, Star Trek has always gotten into political and social issues before in the show, but most of the time it was a political social issue going on with a different species on a different world, and it wasn't something that's going on in the Federation.
So yeah, the thing is that you reflect our current issues in the alien species that the Enterprise is encountering. The whole idea of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's vision, is that one day we would unite as a species and overcome our differences and evolve to a higher state of being and get rid of disease, poverty, all of that. And basically the message of Star Trek was everything's going to be okay. No matter what's going on right now, don't worry, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's fucking gone now.
Yeah.
Like, now, we're in this future where apparently human beings have digressed or de-evolved, and they're now back to being xenophobic and judgy and conspiring and all this shit. He's even at one part where he's talking to the journalist, and then she's like, you did this to save Romulan lives. Like, no, not Romulan lives, lives.
Yes.
Then she's just like, the way she's talking about the Romulans is like they're insects or something. It's like, dude, that's ridiculous. Like, that's like, oh my God, it makes me so mad because it's just so far from what this universe is all about.
Yeah.
Like, you can encounter species that are xenophobic or racist. Like, there's a classic episode in the original series where you have the aliens with one side of their face is black, the other side is white.
Oh yeah, classic
And then-
episode.
And then it's reversed for the other race on their planet, I guess, and they both think that the other one's inferior. That's how you address these things. You don't make humanity itself the thing that's fucked up. That's totally ignoring the point. Like, so Roddenberry is rolling in his grave right now.
Yeah, and and once again, give a little fair. It's not in the history of Star Trek and all the series. It's not like we've never seen corrupt members of Starfleet or corrupt members of the Federation pop up. It's happened.
But there's always been a pocket faction.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been people scattered here and there. Like there was that episode with Riker where the admiral comes on, who's his old captain. And they find out that they were part of a secret experiment to create cloaking technology, and they were trying to hide it from the Romulans. Corrupt guy there. So yeah, so this is not the first time we've seen it. I mean, Section 31, the secret, the Starfleet's secret
It's
organization
their
that,
Zot Vash, basically.
yeah, the Starfleet's equivalent to the Zhat Vash. If it, like, I'm kind of surprised that the Section 31 hasn't popped up yet in Picard, considering everything that's going on. I mean, I know they were used a lot in Discovery.
Very badly.
Very badly. Okay. They were used a lot in Discovery, so maybe that's why they're not being used in Picard, because they already used them up a lot in Discovery. I don't know. But it would make sense for them to pop up during the situation.
For the sake of like jumping forward, is okay if I jump forward with something. I just don't want to lose this thing we're talking about with like the butchery of Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to jump forward to the introduction of a character that I really, really am not a fan of.
Okay.
Rafi. So
okay.
Picard, once he's denied his own ship and crew from Starfleet, he decides to go rogue, because that's the popular thing to do these days, and assemble his own team of misfits, Firefly style. And the first person he comes upon is Rafi, which was his first officer, apparently, when he was going through this Mars Romulan evacuation crap.
Yeah, while he was an admiral.
And she's living in a trailer, basically. It's in a futuristic trailer park.
Well, I don't even know your trailer park. There's no other trailers around. It's just her trailer next to Vasquez Rocks.
And she's a drunk, and she's a drug addict. And she apparently is living in poverty, even though money doesn't fucking exist anymore. So, like, she literally, when Picard is talking to her, propositioning her with this mission, she's literally giving him shit for how he's living. You know, she's like, you and your big fine chateau with your fine furniture. Sorry, I would show you around my property, but it's not quite as nice or as expensive. It's like, there's no money. There's no money in the future. You don't have to worry about the expenses of living. You know, there's replicators for food, for clothing, for anything you need. You know, there's all these planets that are still being terraformed and made habitable for the human race. There's, you know, we find out in TNG all the way through the series that there are tons of colonies that are just starting off on planets. If you don't have enough room on Earth, you go to another planet. You know, like, for them to suggest that her options are so limited and bottlenecked that she has now living in poverty and is a drunk and all this stuff, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little hard to swallow. The one thing about their relationship that I said, okay, like apparently after Picard, he told the Federation when they were like, okay, you know, screw it, we're not gonna help the Romulans anymore. He was like, his last gambit, his last way to like convince them was like, well, either you help the Romulans or I'm resigning from Starfleet. And they were like, okay, bye. And after he did that, he told her, and he just lost so much faith in Starfleet and the Federation. His entire faith in them was crippled that he basically became a hermit on his chateau. He didn't really like go out and talk to people. And that because of that, he never talked to her again, never to check on her, see how she was doing. I'd be okay with that, just to show like how much this whole thing wrecked Picard, that he kind of like turned, that he, despite the fact what he stands for, he kind of turned his back on people because his faith was so shattered. But this whole thing, yeah, poverty is like, I mean, it's been brought up multiple times in Star Trek. They don't have wealth. I mean, other species use wealth, like, you know, like the
gold-pressed latinum.
You beat me to it, you son of a bitch.
And also credits, which they never really explain what credits are exactly.
I assume it's just the only courtesy the Federation has when they're dealing with other planets, just as something, because not all planets have gotten rid of that. Apparently, it's mostly on Earth. So and it meant probably Vulcan too. Yeah.
Credit to Red Letter Media because they kind of broke down how they think currency sort of works within the Federation, or Starfleet at least. The human race.
Oh yeah.
Is that it's basically based on prestige. Like, it's what you accomplish. You get more respect within the community, and you get more opportunities and such. So basically, you know, the thing that you are striving for, the thing that's motivating you and making you competitive, is that gaining that prestige.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah, because it's all about self-improvement. You know, they go forward to improve themselves. That's why so many people, you know, in going back to TNG, Riker, he most of his career he wanted to be a captain. You know, obviously he didn't until the last movie because they wanted to keep him on the show. But it's all about propelling yourself forward. You know, advancing yourself in whatever pathway. You decide in life. You know, Picard almost became an archaeologist. You know, he still had a love for it even while becoming a member of Starfleet. You know, it's kind of hard to swallow, and they do the whole thing like we found out in a later episode that when she became an alcoholic and stuff. Like, oh, she became estranged from her son, and now her son
That's
doesn't want to talk to her, and it's like that's pretty tropey as is.
literally, I've seen crappy soap operas do that storyline better.
Yeah.
Like it was, you can literally hear the violin playing when she is on screen. It's not the actress's fault. Her character,
No,
is
performance-wise, I think she's doing a good job.
her character is just not well written. Like, and she's just not fitting in this universe. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the character. I think the actress though is actually not bad.
Yeah, no, I think performance-wise, this is like, I, yeah, performance-wise, I think she's doing a good job personally.
It's hard to play some of the stuff she's been asked to play. Like, it's just it's very soap opera-y.
Yeah. Let's talk about. All right, let's talk about Captain Rios. So Raffi knows this guy named Rios, who was also a former Federation officer. Who all we know about his backstory is he had a captain at one point. That captain died in front of him or something, but now he is the captain of his own little ship. Which what is the name of his ship? I cannot remember for the life of me.
That's one of
The
those fucking
Las,
show.
it's something like Spanish, Las Serena or something like that.
I don't know. It's completely forget. I don't even remember what the ship looks like right now. I'm trying to.
How's the one baby browser? It's like it doesn't look like a standard Federation ship. Like it doesn't have the nacelles on it or anything, or even a saucer section, which is whatever. I guess that's for Starfleet design, but it just looks like a run-of-the-mill spaceship that I would see in any random video game that has spaceships. Like it's a very forgettable ship.
They didn't do a very good job
Yeah,
designing it.
and he doesn't have a crew. Anytime he needs a crew member, they just activate an EM emergency. Well, do they have any? He has an EM.
EMC and EMH. He has an EM.
Yeah, and they all look like
psychologist or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
like anytime he needs a crew member, like they just turn on the holographic projectors and they bring somebody up.
Which actually, the one who innovated that is from Voyager. The doctor wanted to be capable of becoming an EMC, emergency medical captain, I think, or emergency. Emergency. Was it EM? Wait, no. What was he called as the captain? I forget.
Emergency
Combat.
combat.
I don't know.
Yeah, but there's one episode where he changes the color and it's red.
Yeah, but he
emergency
started-
command hologram.
So it'd be ECH.
ECH. Well,
Yeah, maybe
whatever.
it's the ECH.
Point is, he wanted to spread his wings and do other stuff besides medical shit.
So obviously that has now become a thing that is popular, where you can have these emergency holograms that can fill different crew positions.
Well, I'll say this. I think this is something like is telling about the character of Rios is that apparently he doesn't want to really be part of a crew. He's taking jobs, like he's basically freelancing. Like I'll take you here, take you there, whatever. It is funny how all the holograms are just versions of him. It's the same actor. I find that kind of fun. Like at first I thought it was just going to be the EMH, the medical guy, because he's like trying to convince him like you should take this mission. These people really could use your help. So I thought it was like okay, this hologram's going to be his own character. It's going to try to be like is going to represent his conscience, trying to talk to him to tell him to do the right thing because he's so like disconnected. Like whatever happened in his past, he's like he reads a book on existentialism. Like that's one of the things he's like about the the existential threat of death.
The actor shows range in the different, because he does different voices.
Oh yeah, different
dialects.
accent for each one of the different holograms. So
I will say though that like the tropey, like nothing says badass more than having a piece of metal sticking your main character. Him just like, nah.
oh yeah, we're first time we see him. There's a shard of like like titanium or something like sticking out of his shoulder, and he's just smoking in his cigar, and he's like talking to the EMH. He's like, can you do something about this already? Pull it out. And then he has a replicator replicate him some whiskey or something. He just takes a gulp of that.
They're pushing very hard. This guy's a badass.
Yeah,
he's a Han Solo.
Exactly.
Or
Beat me to it
Wolverine.
again. Beyond that, we don't know a whole lot. I will say this: he does not look good in a green pimp suit. I'll say that much.
Oh, you're cutting way ahead now.
I'm cutting way.
We're gonna talk about that. We gotta talk about Patrick Stewart's awful French accent.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'll go to that.
But what I will say though about the Captain Rios, we just trashed a lot of stuff in the show. I feel like we haven't complimented a lot of things. I will say that out of the new characters, even though he's kind of a cliche, he is one of my favorite new characters out of the group. At least I have a little fun with him. Like he's got a little fun to him. Don't agree?
No, he's cool. He's fine. Like I like the implement. I think I like the creative part of like the holograms. Once again, at first I thought, like I said, it was just gonna be the EMH playing his like consciousness, trying to like poke him to do the right thing. But then there's also there's a psychology one. There's a weapons one to fire the weapons on the ship. I'm interested to see how much. The medical one's the one we've seen the most, but he is somewhat interesting. Like I do kind of want to know what happened. Like this incident in the past that like forever changed him and made him. Was it involved in the Romulan relocation issue? Was it involved in? Was it the Mars ship fleet thing?
Well, see, Vincent, you're assuming that they put thought into this.
God damn! God damn!
Another thing we should point out. This is fucking the end of episode 3 we're at. It took this long to set up everything, the characters. We literally haven't even gotten off Earth yet. We're at the end of episode 3, and just now we're about to get off Earth.
And which is weird because Picard. The reason why he rarely visited his family in TNG is because he preferred to be in outer space. That's where he felt at home, amongst the stars, traveling, discovering stuff, meeting new species. Like he was like this great Starfleet officer. And he does admit, like in one episode, where like he tried to fit in at the chateau, but he just doesn't feel right here. But then, ironically, once they get on Rios' ship, they used a holodeck to recreate his study of the chateau for him to serve as his office. It's like, wait, you never felt like you fit in at the chateau, but now you have your office from the chateau
Some people
on the
say
ship.
they did that to save money, so they had to design another set. But I don't know. It seems like that's a pretty expensive show.
Yeah. Plus the set for the ship, because you have like the bridge, but then you have this big, long, open space.
This looks like a warehouse or something.
Yeah, just like this is not like when if you would just cut off the bridge section, it would look fine. But then there's this big, long like space, and it's like it looks like there's like an area. There's like some handlebars or some railing, I should say.
But the point being, the thing I was just trying to point out.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is just how this show is dragging its fucking feet. It took forever to finish Act 1. Forever. Like, and I know it's a 10-episode show, so like, okay, 3 episodes, that's I guess about the end of a traditional first act, but it's like when you're doing like this continual narrative through all the episodes, waiting 3 hours to kind of get somewhere, it just dragged.
Yeah.
And they had all that filler with the Borg cube stuff, which we haven't even talked about.
We haven't. We're going to talk about one more character, and then we're going to. So Dr. Agnes from the Daystrom Institute, that was a colleague of Bruce Maddox, who we find out her and Bruce were romantically linked, that they did have a relationship. She's visited by the head of Starfleet Security,
Who wears sunglasses.
Who wears sunglasses.
Even though Romulus is like closer to their sun than we are to ours.
She wears sunglasses during the. Well, some people have theorized why she was wearing sunglasses, but I don't know. She's supposed to be a Vulcan, and
She's actually a Romulan.
she's probably she goes to Dr. Agnes. I forget her last name, so I'm just calling her Agnes. And they don't show what she said. But whatever it was, it scared her enough where she went to Picard saying, like, if you're going on this mission, I'm coming with you because they came and talked to me, and I was like, oh, I need to help you save Soji, blah, 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 blah.
Did you love how she, like, readdressed and reintroduced herself to Picard even though he'd already met her? And she was like, I'm Dr. blah, blah, blah Agnes, and I'm coming with you because I'm qualified and I have all these degrees. It's like, wait, why are you telling him all this? He already knows this shit. Terrible dialogue.
Well, I get they're trying to make her like she's this overly like she's not an adventurer. She's like this, like she's just a scientist. She likes being in her lab. She's a nice, sweet person, but she's not the adventurous type. So she's like trying to prove that I can be with your crew. I can go into space and pop maybe die. Blah blah blah.
It's basically Hoshi from Enterprise. You know, Hoshi did not like space.
Oh yeah. The translator.
She's basically Hoshi all over again.
Oh okay. So yeah, they finally get into space, and of course, what do they say when they take off? Engage. So they go off.
Another thing too is like I can't believe they set up those 2 really cool servant characters that were members of the Tal Shiar who have all this inside information about Romulus and the Zot Vash, and they are incredible fighters. And then there's like, do we need to bring them? No, let's let them just keep an eye on the wine down.
Yeah, we spent 2 episodes with these people.
Yeah, well, why didn't they become members of the crew? Oh, yeah, that's right. To make room for Space Legolas.
Well, yeah, well, okay. So I guess we'll get into one more character, and then we'll talk about the subplot with the Borg cube. So in the 4th episode called with Absolute Candor, we find out that during the period of time where Picard was getting all the ships together to save the Romulans from the supernova, that he spent some time on this one planet filled with Romulan refugees who like already got out of the system. They're fine, but they were kind of struggling a little bit. There's apparently a sect of Romulan nuns who are ninja nuns, ninja samurai nuns, and these nuns had this little boy who had no family, and they were raising him. And Picard became very close to this little boy, became like a father figure to him. Would buy him presents, would read him bedtime stories, would play with him. But after the whole synthetic rebellion that destroyed the shipyards, he never returned to the planet, never checked up on them, which is a growing thing where, like, after that whole thing went down, where like a lot of people Picard stopped talking to, and he kind of like retreated to his chateau. And he says, well, this planet's on the way to where we're heading, and since we're out here, I might as well stop and check on these people.
So can I just chime in with this? Do you
Yeah.
love how there's so much urgency in him trying to get to Soji because he thinks that her life is in imminent danger? And then out of nowhere in this episode, he's like, she could be dead anyways. I might never be out here again. Let's just take a detour. Don't worry about her. It's like, you were making such a big deal out of rescuing her and that it was your life's mission to make sure that she would live. And then out of nowhere, you say, she might be dead already. Let's go take a detour. That was dumb. That was badly set up.
But Mike, there's a sword fight.
Unnecessary sword fight. Very unnecessary.
Yeah, but there's like 3 swords.
God damn it.
We'll get into that. So during this episode, they go down there, and we find out, and they get back there, and it's been 14 years, so now the little boy's all grown up. And not only is he grown up, but he's turned out to be the best ninja samurai Romulan that this sect of ninja samurai Romulan nuns has ever seen. He's the best. Nobody can fight like him. And he asks this guy to join him on his quest to save Soji, and he's like, why should I join you? Because it's like, they won't just take it. It's not a money thing. They have to believe that you're completely earnest or your candor. And at first he's like, no, fuck you. You ran out on me 14 years ago. And I almost had expecting him to take that copy of like the Three Musketeers book that Picard got him and just like throw it at Picard's face. Like, fuck you. Or like stab it with his sword. Like, fuck the Three Musketeers. But after he rejects Picard, Picard goes back into town, which all the Romulans are now...
This bizarre scene.
Yeah, they all hate him. There's this Romulan bar that has a sign that says, Romulans only. So Picard rips the sign off, throws it on the ground, steps on it, goes into the bar, asks for service, and surprise, surprise, in the Romulans only bar, they don't like it that he did that.
So we're talking about a captain that made his career off of being a respected diplomat, who, in the course of the TNG years, we saw constantly resorted to words over violence. And here he is directly instigating a fight, directly insulting a people who, by the way, he feels guilt for letting down. He feels guilty about the fact he couldn't help them. Right. And he's insulting them.
Yeah.
That's not Picard. He would never do that.
I know. Because I don't see the point. The only thing that he would have done it is to maybe to get the little boy who's now the grown-up Ninja Samurai Romulan. Elnor? Is that his name? Elnor?
Yes.
I keep wanting to say Eleanor because it's like it's so close. Or you know what? I want to say Eleanor, but his name's Elnor. Every time I hear them say Elnor in the show, I was like, you mean Eleanor? Like, I want them to...
Elnor.
Yeah. I don't like his name. But anyway, so he starts a fight with a couple of Romulans, which apparently one of the Romulans used to be a senator, and then goes off on Picard, and he's like, why are you so pissed at me? And I'm like, Picard, why do you think he's pissed at you, man? Like, Picard's like playing like he's... And it's like, I don't get it. Like, I tried to help you, and he's like... Well, you didn't, and you just came into our bar where you obviously weren't welcome. And then they pull out a couple of, not cavalry sabers, but like swords. They throw one to Picard. Picard like sword fights him for 3 seconds where he tosses the sword down. Which, I want to bring this up. Romulans, why are they using swords? I don't think I've ever seen a Romulan sword. And those swords look like human swords. Like they look like I know that's not, but like a straight-bladed cavalry saber. It's even got like the handguard.
They're using swords because we need to get Space Legolas in here. And by the way, I should mention the Legolas comparisons only because of his like cat-like agility and his physicality and his undying loyalty to Picard later. Because Legolas was super loyal to Aragorn. But I mean, like, some people are saying he's not just like Legolas. Or he's not just like Legolas, but there's just some comparisons.
So they get into a fight. He refused to fight him with a sword. Then Elnor shows up and
Decapitates them.
He flips through the air, pulls out his sword, and cuts off the Romulan guys. And it's just like in an old samurai or ninja film. Like the sword goes through, like you see the line of blood where the cut happens, goes, and then his head slowly falls off. Like it's just like in those old samurai, or not even old. They still do that today. Samurai ninja films, whether it's live action or anime, you just 3 seconds go by, and then the head falls off. And I was like, holy shit, they just decapitated the guy in a Star Trek show. And I'm like, wow.
And it's Picard's fault.
Yeah, and it's because he started the whole thing. It's like, like, I get it, the Romulans, they're being racist because they're like, only Romulans in this bar. I get it. But the Romulans have a reason why they don't want to see anybody else but Romulans. The whole thing is like they felt like the rest of the galaxy turned their backs on them. Of course they don't want to see anybody else.
Well, the weird theory is that some people think that Picard instigated this intentionally to get Elnor to come to his aid. If that's the case, it's even more fucked up because he caused the death of somebody to get a crew member.
And he does chastise Elnor after doing it, but I was saying this, like, Picard, his weapon of choice is a sword. What do you think he's going to do with a sword? He's going to fucking kill people with the sword. And like,
by the way, in this universe, very effective and devastating long-range weapons, what the fuck is a sword going to do?
Yeah.
You run at me with a sword, it's going to be like the Indiana Jones scene.
Yeah.
Like,
now, before anyone brings it up, they were like, well, the Klingons use daggers and swords and the batleth. Okay, here's the thing. The entire Klingon culture is based around being a warrior, and they have a lot of traditions. But here's the thing. The Klingons still use disruptors. They still use torpedoes, and they still have ranged weaponry because they're not idiots. They realize they can't fly into space and like shoot daggers out their spaceships, which would be kind of ridiculously cool to be. But it shouldn't happen.
I was going to say, that wouldn't be cool.
If you're high. Anyway. But they still use guns, basically. Why are the wrong, like, is the town in such shit shape where they don't have any disruptors and they have to use swords?
He's part of an ancient, like, Romulan ninja group or something, so apparently they've been practicing this for a long time, even though we've never heard of them before.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The Elnor thing is whatever, okay? They're a particular sect that have traditions, but why are the other Romulans using swords? It's just so we could see Picard swashbuckling or whatever. Like, why? I don't know. All right. Well, let's get into episode 5, the last episode of the first half of the season.
Well, you're skipping over the Jerry Ryan stuff. That was episode 4.
Oh yeah.
Can we just? Sorry, I just want to fill in something here.
Okay.
So the way that we've so far been talking about the show, we've been talking about mostly from Picard's point of view. Which, by the way, is the way it should have played out. I talked to you about this before. This is basically like a detective story.
Yeah.
You're trying to find out, you have the femme fatale, which is Daj, who comes to his farm for aid, and then she is killed, and it's the catalyst for this adventure. Okay, the problem with this detective story is they're showing you the answers before Picard gets the answers.
Yeah.
Like, the question, where is her sister? Oh, she's on this Borg cube. Picard doesn't know that for 5 more episodes. Okay, so here's the thing. This should have been in his point of view, even in the first episode when they're showing Daj's point of view. We never should have seen Daj's point of view. It should have stayed in his point of view the entire time. It's called Picard, after all. And they're intercutting the first 5 episodes with this filler crap with this Borg cube, which is where Raji, or Soji, whatever. Where Soji is. We shouldn't be seeing that. That's the answers to his questions. We shouldn't know the answers before the main character does.
Well, Michael, the audience has to be reminded that this young woman is super special and will destroy the universe.
So let's talk about, before we get into 5, let's talk about...
Yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting because I like...
It's very forgettable, that's
why. So we find out that the other sister is on this thing called the Artifact, which is a deactivated Borg cube that that's a group of Romulans and a group of ex-Borgs have taken over, and they're taking the Borgs that were on that ship and trying to turn them back into their original species.
And selling their cybernetic implants for money? I don't know.
Yeah, to like pay for the whole thing, because I guess this is outside of Federation territory or whatever. And somehow Soji, the sister, got on the ship, and she's one of like the research people that's studying everything. So she's working alongside Romulans and former Borg. Hugh from TNG, the first Borg we ever saw, like get his humanity back.
Aside from Locutus. Picard.
Oh yeah. So that would have okay. But he was, I should say, the first Borg who had been Borg for many years, where Picard was like Borg for like a few days. So he's on there, and she's studying this, and there's this like really hot Romulan guy that she has a relationship with, and
Narek.
Yeah, and like he's cute and flirting with her, and they're banging by episode 2, and it turns out that he might be part of this Jacques Vage, or he's Tao Shiar.
Definitely is part of it. Yes.
Yeah, because he has a sister who's in Starfleet, posing as a human, but she's really a Romulan, his sister, and she somehow pops up at the cube without anyone noticing in black leather outfit, and is very, very incestuous towards him.
Because that's the thing to do these days, because of Game of Thrones, man. You know? Incestuous sibling relationships are popular these days for some reason in entertainment.
Game of captain's chairs, Jesus. Yeah, because she keeps having, like, what's going on? Because apparently she just wants to take Soji, capture her, interrogate her, dissect her, whatever. But he's like, no, we have to go with my plan. My plan is more subtle and smart. Meanwhile...
Well, the important thing is they don't want to activate her, because if they do, then she'll go full-blown, like, River.
Yeah, or, like, whatever. And they keep indicating that she knows things that she shouldn't know. She knows about these Romulans who were turned into Borg. She knows about, like, what their ship was named, and she doesn't even know that.
And some of the Romulans are calling her the Destroyer.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about the Zhat Vash, is apparently they are harboring a secret that is so devastating it will drive you mad if you were to learn its secret.
Yeah.
Or something. Something
Romulans, something Borg.
Secrets.
Yeah.
So I just want to chime in about Narek really quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go. Yeah.
Narek and Elnor actually is the thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Both characters kind of suck. Like, Narek is a good actor. I like the actor. I think he has a cool look. I like the way he's playing everything, but the only things about him is that he has this weird incestuous flirty thing, and he's really good at puzzles and being...
Yeah. To his credit, he's resisting his hot sister. He's not, like, every time she goes to touch him or close to him, he's like, he gets a little like, dude, like, back off like a bit. But he's not acting, but he's like, back off, but he's also acting in a way like, okay, this is not the first time his sister has, like, been grinding on him or something.
Yeah.
So to his credit.
But Elnor, on the other flip side, literally is useless. Like, we set up the fact he's the greatest hand-to-hand combat warrior in the galaxy or something, and then in the following episodes he really doesn't do anything except make some funny comments because he doesn't get certain things.
Yeah. He's the straight man of the group.
Yeah, but he's just there, honestly. He's not doing that much.
Well,
I mean...
the problem is I think we got to know more about him when he was a little kid than we do
you're
now as an
getting on
adult.
the point I want to make.
Okay, sorry.
I feel very strongly about this.
Yeah.
It might be too coincidental, but I feel very strongly that Elnor is a character that should not exist, and that his backstory should have been Narek's backstory, and that Narek should have been the one that Picard befriended as a child, and Narek was desperate for a family connection, and Picard gave that to him briefly to only take it away from him. So Narek is abandoned, and Narek is easily corruptible by the Zhat Vash who adopt him. And just like other youths that we know throughout our society that can be, corrupted, he's corrupted into the Zhat Vash. And there's a loyalty to them because they became the only family he ever knew.
Yeah.
And there's a resentment towards Picard for what happened. So he has this foundation of this relationship with Picard, but he has this corruption on top of it from the Zhat Vash. So you have a much more compelling villain, and you have a much more interesting relationship between him and Picard. And
This is a good idea.
Now, it's coincidental that Picard's mission would so happen to come on top of, where he is, this artifact, that their journeys would crisscross. It's kind of, fate feeling. But, it's storytelling. You do that in storytelling all the time. But here's the other thing. It makes the incestuous thing with his sister a little less weird, because in my version, she's an adopted sister. She's not his actual sister. Okay. And then the other aspect of this whole thing is that... Now I'm drawing a blank of what I was trying to say. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just simply a matter of that. Oh, also, yeah, what I was going to say is the two servant Romulan characters, they then cut Eleanor out. They're the muscle of the group. They're the ones that come on the ship. They're the muscle of the ship.
Yeah.
They're the ones.
Because they do have this cool little action scene. Like we haven't been giving a lot of positive, but there's a cool little action scene where like the Jacques Vache Black Ops guys come into Picard's vineyard to start tearing the place up. And honestly, they're fucking throwing down these guys. They're doing pretty well.
They are very good fighters.
Yeah,
I mean, they're like Jason Bourne in there.
Yeah, and they're not in their prime anymore. They're older. They're like in their 40s, maybe early 50s. But they're fucking throwing down.
And the question is, why do we spend so much time setting these two characters up if they're just off the show now? Like they're off the show. They've been out of the show now the entire time since the last time we saw them.
Set them up as like they were elite combat members of the Tau Shiar. Give them the swords if you still want that aspect to it. You're keeping the incest. Let me keep the swords. All right.
Well, they wouldn't be incest in my version exactly. But anyways, though. But point being, though, they have these two really great physical characters that could be the muscle of the ship.
Yeah.
Eleanor is redundant.
I was actually kind of liking them.
Yeah, I was too. They were actually two of my favorite new characters, but they got rid of them for Eleanor. Eleanor kind of sucks. I'm sorry. And if you gave Eleanor's backstory to Narek, makes Narek 10 times more interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I like where you're going here, man. I'm agreeing with you that we should have kept those two. Even though I can't remember their names, I'll admit that. But they're memorable. I remember scenes. I remember them talking to Picard, like, "Oh man, I don't think you should do this. Hey, hold on, let's take a look at this." Blah blah blah. They're definitely setting up Eleanor to be the naive guy. He's never been off that planet. He doesn't really know the universe because in the next episode, he's asking questions like, "Should I do this?" And they're like. He's like asking obvious questions, no, just do what you're doing, like blah blah blah. Yeah. So they're gonna play him. He's definitely gonna be comedic relief of the group, which I don't know why Agnes just couldn't fit that role. She's like this.
She is the comedic relief. Basically, you don't need.
Yeah, so he's gonna be more. He's comedic relief with a sword. All right. But anyway, so that episode ends with. They said at the beginning of the episode there's some kind of like local I don't know what to say warlord, but some criminal who got his hands on an old Romulan warbird. We're talking about the original series model Romulan warbird, which it was kind of cool to see that thing flying around. So he finally shows up at the end of the episode. We never see the guy. We just see the warbird come in. They beam up back to Rios' ship. Rios' ship is fighting with this old warbird, which is like, Rios' ship is like half the size of it. But it's actually a tough battle, which... maybe I'm wrong about this, Mike. You tell me what you thought, but because it is like an old warbird, should it be giving them that much trouble?
Well, their ship isn't really that awesome either.
I know it's not that awesome, but still it's still a contemporary ship. I don't know. There's something about.
They don't say how old his ship is. I mean, it could be a lot older. I mean, they gave me the impression it's like the Millennium Falcon of this universe. I mean, he has upgraded technology, holographic technology, but the ship itself seemed kind of beaten down and worn out, and not Roddenberry universe ship. It seemed more like a Star Wars ship.
Yeah, like I said, it feels like a ship. The style is definitely a modern style. Like I feel like I've seen in video games before.
Well, you're getting to the big reveal of a guest star.
Yeah, right? So another smaller ship comes in out of nowhere, helps them out, and together they're able to take out the warbird. But the little ship gets damaged. It's about to blow up. They beam it on to the Rios' ship, which still can't remember the name, so I'm going to call it El Forgettable. They beam it on to the El Forgettable, and it's 7 of 9. It's like, holy shit. And
Mary Ryan still looks great.
Yeah, no, she looks fucking fantastic. So that leads into the next episode called the episode 5. Last episode we'll talk about Stardust City Rag, which I don't get that title.
It's a bad title.
Yeah. So it turns out, and then we begin the episode.
This is the worst moment in the entire series so far.
Okay. Okay. We begin the episode where it's a scene of torture. Some kind of Starfleet person, and we see the uniform, is sitting on a table, and somebody is, ripping out their eye. And we literally see this, claw thing grab the guy's eye, pull it out a good half a foot from his face where you see, all the nerves and wires, and it pulls out, and it's and he's screaming. They don't put him under with anesthesia, screaming. He just ripped the eye out, put it in.
This is what they call torture porn.
Yeah.
It's, like Hostel or Game of Thrones. It's popular these days to show extreme violence.
Yes. And then 7 of 9 comes in and shoots all the people. And she goes up to him and he's like, "Oh God, Icheb!" And it's like, "Holy shit, it's Icheb from Voyager, like the sort of son that 7 of 9 got like in the last season." And it's like, holy shit! And he's like so
More than last season. That was actually the last 2 seasons.
last 2 seasons. Thank you. And it's just like, and he's so like, and like she's like, "We're gonna get you out of here. Come on." He's like, "No." He's like, "It's like just it's too late." I'm like, he's so fucked up. He's not gonna survive. So she like holds him tightly, cries, and then puts a phaser to his chest, shoots him, gives him the mercy killing. And it's like, okay, so there's a few things we need to talk about here. First off, this is another complaint that people are having. It's the violence. And we've had violence before in Star Trek. We've had people being vaporized. We've had people being stabbed. We've had, people like there's that the one episode where with the little like bug creatures that were taking over Starfleet, and they were in the one guy and they shot him with phasers at full power and he exploded. Okay, violent things have happened in Star Trek before. All right,
This never felt gratuitous.
yeah, this felt. It doesn't. It wasn't like it just feels too much, especially with the guy screaming in agony.
Yeah. Actually, there was one gratuitous moment in TNG, an episode called Conspiracy, where they did go full really violent in that episode, but everyone called them out on it and they never did it again. Yeah. But there's a certain formula that Star Trek has stuck to with violence. Yeah. This was Game of Thrones. They went Game of Thrones on Icheb. Yeah. And it was just violent for the sake of violence. Like, I know that Michael Chabon, the showrunner, has been saying, like, "Oh, we had that violence because we really wanted to hit home how devastating this was for 7 and 9. It's like, dude, less is more. The less you show me, the more effective it is. You just showing me his eye being ripped from its socket with blood squirting everywhere, that just grosses me out more than it does to, upset.
It should have been, she should have come into the room. Icheb is already dead on the table, and like the people that were carving him up are there.
His dying, words to her.
Or like, he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, dying. He's messed up a blade." Show the aftermath. Let our imaginations, and you just maybe see, like 7 Nights look around, and maybe she sees the eyeball in the tray. Maybe she sees like a foot or something. Like, I don't know, maybe not. But it just felt like, and
also, for such a fan favorite, I think Icheb was very well received. He wasn't like Wesley Crusher. Wesley Crusher, by the way, I've grown an appreciation for Will Wheaton as time's gone on. But, when the show is on, everyone kind of had an issue with Wesley Crusher. Yeah. Icheb, people didn't really have an issue with Icheb.
I was about to say, I thought Icheb was an interesting, not my favorite of all time, but I didn't know how he fit in with the fan base. But yeah, and let's get into that. This is such a sad ending for Icheb, considering what we learned about his backstory in Voyager. So let's go over Icheb's journey.
Do we have enough time for that?
It's my fucking show. We'll make the time.
All right, if you want to.
All right. So I'm gonna condense it. So they had an episode in Voyager where they find this. It was like I think it was a Borg sphere, not a cube. But it's like shut down. So the crew goes in to take a look, and they find these 5 Borg kids: a little girl, 2 twin boys, and then 2 teenagers. One of them being Icheb. It turned out something happened to this Borg vessel. It shut down, and these kids were the only survivors, right? And the one kid's in charge, and Icheb is fighting back against him. Eventually, the one kid, he dies. They take the other 4 of them onto Voyager. They unborg them as much as possible, and they're on Voyager for a while. And 709, being the only person that can relate to them, kind of takes on the motherly figure and kind of like raises them, watches them develop, educates them, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, they find the home planets for all of them. The twin boys, they find their planet, or at least their species. The little girl, they find her species. And with Icheb, not only do they find members of his species, they find his actual fucking parents, who are on like this little colony that is like barely keeping it together, and they're farming. His parents were actually scientists or something like that before the Borg came through and destroyed their planet. Icheb does not want to stay with them, because he doesn't remember them. He wants to be on Voyager because Voyager is the only home he's known. The 709 tells him, "You should be with your parents." And he does. Eventually, he starts to realize, gets into their culture and stuff. But then it's revealed what really happened, that Icheb wasn't just captured by the Borg randomly like most people are. The Borg were devastating their civilization. So they, as a little boy, when Icheb was just a little boy, because he's a teenager when they find him in the show, they infected him with a virus that would destroy the Borg, or at least fuck with their technology. And that's why the Borg cube he was on, or sphere, shut down. It was because of Icheb. So the parents, after Voyager leaves, they reinfect him, put him in a ship, and throw him back at the Borg. Of course, 7 and 9 figures out what's going on, and they go to rescue him, and blah, blah, blah. And he realizes, and he stays on Voyager and goes back to the Alpha Quadrant with him at the end of the series. Because the Voyager crew is his true family. They care about him. They would never throw him to the Borg as some kind of sacrifice play. And for his story to end like this, it just seems disrespectful to the character.
It does. Now, Mike from Red Letter Media did.
Beat me to it again.
He did have a theory on why they did this, but I don't think it's why they. Honestly, I think they were just doing it for Game of Thrones torture porn. But he pointed out though that the actor who played Icheb made some comments online that were not great. And they were directed towards the Kevin Spacey scandal.
Yes.
And he basically was defending Kevin Spacey, and he said, in so many words, was it? No, is it Michael? No, what's his name? What's the actor's name who plays? He's from Discovery. Anyways,
he's on Discovery. I don't.
The
care.
actor that plays the engineer in Discovery, it's very forgettable. That's why I don't remember. He's actually a good actor, though. I like him. It's not his fault. There's any issue, but. He is the one that outed Kevin Spacey, and the guy who played Icheb basically called him in so many words a pussy.
Yeah.
And people flipped out, and the guy who played Icheb has since apologized, and he said that he had met Kevin Spacey in his career, and he said that when he met him, he got the impression he was a good person. That's why he was so defensive. But still, he was on the wrong side of that argument.
Definitely, yeah. So it makes sense for them not to ask him to come back to play the character.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not, once again, they did that to character to get to send it like a fuck you to.
See, the thing is,
Manu
Oh, guy's name's way too hard to pronounce for me.
I'm Italian. I can't even pronounce his name.
I mean, the thing is, like you said, I just want to verify that I do. At first, I was upset that he wasn't involved. I didn't know about the scandal. I was upset. Like, why
I didn't know about. Fuck yeah.
I was like, why didn't you get Icheb back? I thought he was good as Icheb. But then when I heard about what happened, yeah, I agree. He shouldn't be on Star Trek at this point because his opinion is as anti Star Trek as you can get.
Oh, you know what would have been cool if they didn't get that actor? They got the actor that played older Icheb in that one episode where each
but he'd be really old now, though. That guy would be in his like late 40s or something.
Why not? Just do it.
But anyways, it makes total sense why the actor wasn't brought back. I think the actor probably just was made a horrible mistake. But after you make a comment like that, make it public. Star Trek isn't the right place for you.
Yeah.
An all accepting, all loving world, which this isn't anymore, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah, especially with the Harvey Weinstein trial coming to convictions recently. If they were bringing him on now, the timing would have been massively horrible. But anyway, so we're in this last episode where 7 of 9 is discovered that 7 of 9 is no longer involved with Starfleet. She has become something called I forget but she's a Ranger, which is this group of people who are trying to keep this area of space, which is apparently after the whole Romulan Empire collapsed, the neutral zone was just this buffer area between the Federation and the Romulan Empire, became a lawless zone. Okay. And and her and a group of people called the Rangers are trying to keep things together. I don't know how well they're doing, but...
I mean, once again, they're pushing this idea that the Federation just sucks and isn't doing their job right, and is letting the universe go to shit because they're too busy looking after their own agendas now.
Yeah.
So she's part of this group seeking justice because no one else will get justice for the universe anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think of 7-9 being part of this Ranger group? Like, she was always a bit anti-authority during Voyager, but her journey as a character through Voyager makes it seem like this would not be where she would end up.
Her entire storyline in this episode I thought was kind of lame because, they set up a situation for her where she's out for revenge because of what happened to Icheb, and she's using the new crew to seek out this woman that was directly involved. And the whole thing's resolved within the same episode. So it's like, why'd you bother horribly murdering Icheb if you're not going to, earn it? Have this be, for one thing, 7 and 9 being included in the show, she should have been somehow connected to the Borg artifact.
Yeah.
She should have been connected to the actual Borg situation. But instead, she's not at all connected to that. That's not something she's even remotely connected to. So it was a waste of her being on the show. The Ranger thing is stupid. I don't know. I thought they really misused her.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say Jerry Ryan, by the way, was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't like the revenge storyline they gave her, but she played it great. She was badass.
Yeah.
She was great. The episode, unfortunately, was my least favorite of the season, but like I thought she was
Yeah,
great.
and according to the IMDb page, it has the lowest rating of the episodes right now.
It sucks because
Yeah, the highest rating would be episode 1 with an 8.5, but episode 5, unfortunately, where we bring back Jerry Ryan, it's got 6.9, which is not a horrible rating, but it is the lowest rating of the episodes thus far. And a lot of it has to do with the goofy semi heist plot that they were going for, where like they go to this gangster who has Bruce Maddox, because apparently Bruce Maddox was getting money from this gangster to fund his android project, and since he's on the run from Starfleet and the Tal Shiar, he goes to this gangster who just
happens to be the person that 7-9 wants to kill in vengeance for Ichep's death.
yes. But anyway, so they had this plan. It's like, we'll pretend like we're like bounty hunters or something. Space pirates. Because apparently space pirates dress like pimps and old crazy Frenchmen who with eye patches. Like,
Really
he literally has an
awful
eye patch. He's a pirate with whatever. I understand they were going for it's just weird because they're going for this badass. There's all this badass and things going on with like phaser fire and the gruesome torture of Icheb, and then they go for this comical, because Picard disguises himself as this crazy Frenchman. He's very cartoonish, and then Captain Rios is in like this pimp outfit.
So
And
why wouldn't a Frenchman know how to speak with a French accent? I don't know. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And then you're intercutting the Rafi drama with her son.
Yeah.
The episode was a mess. Like tonally, it was all over the place.
yeah. Tonal issues were definitely a big problem. But anyway, so they have it, and then 7 of 9, like the plan goes to the shitter because 7 of 9 reveals that she's out for revenge. There's a phaser battle, and they get out of there. Picard's taking the high road. We don't have to turn. He's like, we don't have to turn this into blah blah, because they get Bruce Maddox, who's in really shitty shape, and then there's this nice little moment between Picard and 7 of 9 back on the El Forgettable.
Yeah,
which thanks to in the comments section, our buddy Sean lets us know that the name of the ship is La Serena, which is translates to the Mermaid.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. But anyway,
I like yours better. El Forgettable.
Yeah, El Forgettable. And 709 says to Picard before she's about to leave the ship, like, did you ever recover your humanity after after being rescued from the Borg? And he said yes. And then she's like, all of it? And he's like, no. But I still try every day to get a little bit back that I haven't.
It is one of the best moments in the show, in the worst episode. But I did like that moment. Yes.
Yeah. But then right before she leaves, is like, before I go, can I take a couple of those disruptors, those blasters off you, those phasers? And he's like, okay. And he's like, well, you are like a outer space cowboy, so why not? She takes it.
So she's like, don't worry, I'm not going to use them to kill anybody.
Yeah. My ship blew up, so you kind of owe me. So that would be fine. Like, my ship blew up, you owe me something. Can I take a couple of guns? Because it's dangerous out here. And then I guess he didn't notice what she punched the coordinates to be, because she beams back down to the planet and slaughters the entire fucking bar. Well, not the whole bar. She just takes out the criminal who is also indicated in the episode that her and this criminal, what was the criminal's name? Verena?
El Forgettable.
Human El Forgettable. Okay. That her and 709 may have been in a romantic relationship at one point?
I don't know.
It's kind of indicated.
I don't know.
But anyway, she gets her vengeance. She kills her and gets vengeance for Icheb. And then the guards come in and she's like blasting her way like 80s action movie style, just two guns, dual wielding. Kills everyone, and then they.
So Jerry Ryan has convinced me that she would make a great action star, but it doesn't belong in the show. But she
get her into John Wick 4. God damn it!
No, she is selling it as best as anyone could. She's excellent in what she's doing. It's just that it's not right for the show. Now, here's the moment, by the way, where I really realized I had a moment of fuck you to the show. It was a moment where Picard basically argues Gene Roddenberry's ideals to her about forgiveness, letting go, being better than them. And her deciding to dismiss that and saying, well, this isn't Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek anymore. Fuck that vision. Die, bitch! It's like, that moment specifically is saying Gene Roddenberry's vision of Star Trek is dead. Because Picard argues for it, and she defies it.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like the message of the whole show. They're saying this is not Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek anymore. That was the moment where I decided that I don't think I like this show very much. But I don't hate it yet, but I have a lot of problems now.
Yeah. A lot of people have been saying that it's good that Star Trek has gone in this new direction because Star Trek needs to catch up with the times. It needs to be more in line with the way modern kind of shows are.
That's what you have The Expanse for.
Exactly. You brought up The Expanse many times. But here's the thing.
Expanse is a great show, by the way. Awesome.
Sci-fi dystopia is nothing new. It's very popular. Lots of genres. I mean, we mentioned Blade Runner before. We the Aliens universe was the Wayland. Wayland, right? Or yeah. The Expanse you just brought up. It's been done before many times, but Star Trek is never meant to be that, and I think it's wrong to try to change it in that direction and say, this is how things are now, so, it needs to catch up with the times. And when I hear people say that, and it's going to sound goofy, but you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of not the original Muppets movie, but the Muppets, the one with Jason Segel in it. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, the movie that tried to revive the franchise.
Yeah.
Because it's that moment in the movie where the evil, rich, billionaire oil baron guy is like trying to buy the Muppets IP. He's trying to like get their name brand so he can own everything. And then he brings in the Muppets, who are like, the modern audiences want a more cynical, characters, and you kind-hearted, lighthearted Muppets, you're not just in touch with the times. And the point of that movie was to show like, no. You could still have characters like these in a modern movie and not have them be cynical and dirty and grungy. And I know this is kind of weird, but I feel the same way about Star Trek. We have enough future dystopia. Star Trek can still stand out. I mean, I give some forgiveness to like the Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams ones, because like they did the whole like timeline change. So I give some forgiveness there. Not a ton, but I do give.
There's definitely more hope in those movies than in these new shows.
Yeah, but
I mean, no. The thing is that. Ultimately, like you said, we have all of these pessimistic views of the future everywhere. This is what makes this show unique, is that in the face of darkness, there's light.
Yeah.
And,
super bad.
But I mean, in these troubled times where we are living in, I mean, it's not as troubling as other decades in our history, but it's, for our lifespan, for the times we've lived in, it's kind of rough. We don't need every show to be dystopian awful. No. And this show, the thing I like about it is that now more than ever, maybe we need a show to tell us everything's going to be okay. And that's what Star Trek is supposed to do. It's supposed to reassure you. It was developed back in the 60s during, the Cold War.
Civil rights was going on.
Yeah, civil rights, assassinations of top political figures, Vietnam. And here is a show saying, don't worry, we're going to figure this out. Okay? And that was really relevant in the 60s. It's still relevant today.
Oh, especially today. I mean, people... you see, people feel like things are like really bad right now. That's a whole like social political thing that we're not going to get into here, but yeah, I feel like, and some people say like old Star Trek, and that's the thing I keep hearing now, like old Star Trek versus new Star Trek. And some people saying like you can't do old Star Trek anymore. And I'm like, I don't know, and I say that because
Orville's doing it great.
Yeah, Orville, I'm behind on it, but I'm going to catch up on it now. Because I remember when Orville first came out, I was like, because like it came out after Discovery. It premiered. I was like, oh god, this feels so relaxing compared to. It was like Orville. I felt like with Orville, I got into like a fist fight with with Discovery. I got into a fist fight with somebody, and then Orville came along, and Orville's like my physical therapist, and it's giving me some massage to like fix my muscles.
Well, the Orville also has a lot of old Star Trek writers on board, their writing staff. Yeah. Now, the thing with Orville, of course, they took a little time to find their legging, because it was at first doing Seth MacFarlane humor, but they are getting. Season 2 was great. Season 1 had some struggles. Season 2 was much better. But, anyways, the last thing we should mention is how episode 5 ends. Maddox.
Oh yeah, yeah. I almost forgot about. So okay, they have Bruce Maddox on the Unforgettable in the med bay, and Picard's talking to him, and Picard finally finds out Soji's on the Borg cube, which is called the Artifact. And he goes like, and like the medical, medical hologram or somebody, Agnes is like, he needs some rest because he's like fucked up. He's like he needs some rest, but if he get so, but then Agnes comes in and he's like, Agnes, it's you. And they're like, oh, sweet, because we know at this point they romantically linked. But then
Which
Agnes
is weird, by the way. There's such an age difference. It's crazy.
yeah. Because like the actress who plays Agnes, Alison Pill, I think she's 32. I want to say.
She looks younger. I thought she was in her 20s.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, no.
But he's
Alison,
like in his late 50s.
Oh yeah, and Alison Pill's got like one of them baby faces. She's gonna be she. And the actor who plays Bruce Maddox is not the original Bruce Maddox. No. That actor apparently does not act anymore. But I did look up the actor because he looked familiar to me, and this is gonna be like a dumbest bit of trivia I'm throwing here. He was a character on an old TGIF show called I think it was called what was it called? I think it was called like You Wish or like where he played. It was a sitcom where a family finds a genie, and every episode the genie tries to grant their wish, and he just fucks it up. I was like, holy fuck, this guy! I barely remember this show, but so anyway, a little bit of dumb trivia for you. But then Agnes is like, like I need to like make up for my sins, and then she presses some buttons on the console, and all of a sudden Max is like starts convulsing, and it's like his veins are going black. He's like, Agnes. And the EMA shows up. He's like, what's the nature of the medical emergency? And he's like, oh, he's fucking dying. We need to do something. And she's like, turn off the EMH. And it turns off.
You think he'd be like, I'm telling.
Yeah. Of course, next episode she's going to like delete his memory files or whatever.
Yeah.
But then she's like, if you only knew what I knew. And like,
again, this secret that Zot Vosh has been keeping that will drive you mad if you were to know about it.
Yeah. So Bruce Maddox dies.
Here's another thing I dislike about the show. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Everybody has baggage. Everybody's screwed up. Everybody is hopeless. Everybody is damaged goods.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, can't we have any freaking characters that are, like, not messed up in some way? I mean, like, everybody, like, I just hate how modern entertainment, how they're just taking the worst ingredients from modern entertainment and inducting it into Star Trek. They're like, oh, people don't relate with fun characters. Let's make everybody dark. Let's even take our most fun character, our comedic relief, and make her dark and make her murder somebody. It's like, I don't know. It's not Star Trek. Like, where's the hope? Where's the where's Roddenberry's vision? God.
I don't know, man. Yeah, this show has been. It's not like it's It's not like a horrible show. It's difficult because it's new Trek.
I told myself too when we started doing this, I was going to compliment it in places, and I feel like I didn't. Like, there is things, okay. Like, I think most of the actors are good. Yeah. I think the effects are good. I think the production design is good. All the visuals, everything. I even like how they have little tidbit facts from the previous series. They do have some continuity, which is something Discovery doesn't do at all. There's some action scenes that are good. There's certain plot threads that are intriguing, but they're connected to other plot threads. They're not.
There's a lot of like tangled threads here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of feel in between about.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards disappointed right now, but
I'm not leaning. I'm on top of disappointed. I'm bathing in disappointed.
I think that there is a possibility that they could finish strong. Vincent hasn't seen the newest episode. We won't get into it much now, but I'll just say that some things happen plot-wise. Like, that's one of the things I hate about these first 5 episodes.
Yeah, they're dragging.
It took forever to get anywhere.
Yeah, you need to set up your main cast in the first couple episodes, and then get the shit. Like, first couple, like if you get Finn in the main cast in that first episode, then whoever's left, get him in that second episode, set him up, and then by the third episode, get on to shit.
That's why they should have taken out all of the stuff with point of views outside of Picard's in the first few episodes. Just have it all be Picard's point of view so we can get things rolling faster.
Yeah.
Have all the stuff from the Borg artifact come into play after Maddox says that she's on the Borg artifact. Then start showing us that side of the story. And that would have been, if they cut out everything in the first few episodes, this would have now happened probably around episode 4 or even the end of 3. Like you just cut out all the filler stuff, and saved it for now. So the show is structured chaotically and wrong, and it's just it's like it needed another draft of writing. It needed another draft of editing. It just needed more work. Cut out the entire space pirate Frenchman thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I know anyone who likes that.
And I've never once seen a Patrick Stewart performance where I was like, he's not doing so good. I never thought it was possible. And for once I was like, Patrick, God, man, it's kind of embarrassing, bro. Yeah. But he's an amazing actor. I love Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
but he was not great in that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling so weird about this show. I was already worried because I think I found out that the same people behind Discovery were going to be involved in this. I was like, oh my god! But then it was like Patrick came out and said like, well, Patrick Stewart actually has a lot of control and things that he on set that he had certain terms, and people were like, oh, okay, Patrick Stewart. And then people in the fan base were like, oh, Patrick Stewart will keep things on the right track. And then it came out like some of the things that are integral to the story in this new series were things he wanted in there, for what I understand. So just like, okay. And here's the thing, some of these subjects, there's social and political issues, and once again, Star Trek has explored these things before, but it's always like, it's out there, it's going on with a different species, or whatever, and I don't know, a lot of things aren't, it doesn't feel, if they said something like, the Dominion War, this is the long-lasting effects of the Dominion War, over time, due to the Dominion War, things were getting worse and worse in the Federation because war changed everybody, and there was so much death and misery. Like, this is why the Federation is the way they are now. Like they went with that angle. I gotta be like, okay, and then the show's about Picard not having to go for some chosen one who might destroy everything. It's about him trying to get the Federation back on track because he's in his older years and he's gonna die. He's got that brain disease. He's going to die. He's like, I need to try to point the Federation or at least Starfleet back in the right direction before I pass. I need to get off my ass, get out of the fucking vineyard, which we always knew he was going to be in the fucking vineyard. That was like every fan was like, he's going to be in the vineyard.
That needed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And spoiler, they signed on for season 2, so I guess he's...
Oh, yeah, they signed that up quick. Which the rumor is the same rumor why they signed on for season 3 of Discovery is that they don't want people to think things are going poorly. But there's rumors behind the scenes that the ratings aren't for at least Discovery. The ratings weren't that good during season 2.
That's the thing. Say what you want about Picard, but you're actually making it through the season. You couldn't get past the 3rd episode of
I
Discovery.
hated Michael Burnham. It wasn't the actress at all.
That's the thing. Also, is that I feel like honestly these writers are not writing very strong female characters. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like their female characters are their strong point. They just, I don't know.
Well, like I said, I got 3 episodes in.
I love Jerry Ryan. As soon as Jerry Ryan showed up, it's like, there is a powerful, strong, badass lady right there.
But she's become like an outlaw, and she's basically thrown away everything Janeway tried to teach her.
Yes, all of that I have issues with, but I thought Jerry Ryan was fantastic.
Yeah, but is that because 7 of 9 is fantastic, or is that because we're familiar with 7 of 9 in this?
Honestly, if we had never seen her before, I would think it was very random that she showed up for one episode.
Yeah. They're like, who's this former Borg chick? Like,
But I mean, she has this. I don't know. It's interesting because she can emote now more than she could when she was 7,
which
9.
is a nice. We put on a lot of negatives. Nice positive. They've shown the evolution of her character. She can
But she just sold me. I don't know. It's like give this woman a Taken reboot or something. Let her be the Liam Neeson character. I don't know. It's like she's just really cool. I just really liked her. I mean, I didn't like her storyline. That's the thing that sucks. But she was great.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I guess her and Chakotay didn't work out.
I guess. I mean, people change their mind. And,
No, they didn't have to fly off into the sunset or nothing.
It was also a really random romance they developed. It came out
at
of
the
nowhere.
very end of Voyager. Yeah, it was weird. I remember thinking like, oh wait, did I miss an episode? I remember watching it back in the day when the season finale. Did I miss an episode? That's her. They-
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like I have nothing against like if let's say that they explore 7/9 further in her own series, which
Yeah,
is
because a spinoff
there's a
called
rumor
Star
about
Trek
that.
Rangers.
There's a rumor about her having her own series or
Go,
her coming.
go, Star Trek Rangers.
But if they explore her sexuality and like, hey man, that's fine. I don't.
Oh yeah, because like it indicates like she had a romantic relationship with that one gangster woman. If she turns
Yeah.
out to be bisexual or a lesbian, it's like whatever.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that she was trying to discover herself throughout Voyager, so it's arguable to say that she didn't fully discover herself till after those events.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on board. I would like to see more 7/9, but let's maybe scale her a little closer to. I don't know. I just don't like where they took her. But yeah, she was great. She's actually one of my favorite things about this series, even though her storyline wasn't great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going over the place. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to bring up? Any behind the scenes stuff that you want to talk about, or?
I think I laid in a few things as we were going about it.
Okay.
But I mean, like like I said, I don't know. I just have really mixed feelings.
Yeah. And this is a thing that keeps coming up lately. People talk about new Trek and old Trek, which basically started with the J.J. Abrams films, but I really kicked into high gear with Discovery. There is this because I've heard plenty of people who love Discovery, and I met somebody in a bar a couple weeks ago. We got in a whole Star Trek discussion. They said they love Picard. They love what's going on with it. And I no reason, and they talk about how they grew up watching Star Trek, so it's this interesting divide.
It's kind of like what's happening with Star Wars right now.
Star Wars. Star Wars, I think, is even worse because of it. I mean,
It's debatable.
I don't know if anyone's deactivated their Twitter and Instagram from harassment in the Star Trek. Has that happened to anybody? I haven't heard anything.
No, that might be the only way that Star Wars is worse is some of the toxic fandom. Which I have a lot of issues with Star Wars currently, but I would never attack the actors or blame anybody specifically like that. It was ridiculous. People are being ridiculous.
Yeah. I've talked about that before on the show, too. You don't like Rose Tico? Fine. I don't like her either. Stop shitting on Kelly Marie Tran, for Christ's sake. All right.
She couldn't have done any better.
Yeah.
That's another thing, too, is that, like the same thing in Picard. All these actors are good. I mean, I like all the actors.
Yeah, the casting's good. Yeah, they haven't cast any slouches.
God, I feel bad. We didn't actually talk about the actress who plays Soji and Daj. We never talked about her, really.
Because she's not... I don't know what to say about them.
Well, it is hard right now because
I think her actress's name is like Brianna Isolis or something like that.
I will say that I don't know. I like her. There's not a lot of character there to work with currently, but I do see the actress being somebody of merit, of potential. I mean, she's good at the action scenes. Well, she only did it in the first episode, but I thought she was very good at the action.
And I haven't seen anything in her performance so far that would make me say bad.
Yeah, there's never a moment the other characters.
Isa Brianis, that's her name.
Yeah, I don't know. I like her. As an actress, I like her.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because every time she pops up in the subplot with them being on the board, it's just to give us another indication of what we already know. She's not human. She's connected to the data. She is something about the Borg. There's the big fan theory about what is she, a destroyer? Is she going to be the new Borg queen? Is she going to raise up the synths and start a rebellion?
There's the rumor that the secret that Romulans have been keeping is that the Romulans actually created the Borg.
Okay, I heard about that too. If that turns out to be it, I'll be like, that would just somehow feel so wrong to me, because the Borg always came off as the species that came, because Voyager dealt with them all the time in the Delta Quadrant. They came from the other side of the galaxy, that they wouldn't be connected. Or you know what would be funny if the big secret is a lot of the species in the Alpha Quadrant were actually descended from. Well, no, they already did that in TNG. They're I don't know, maybe people are descended from some kind of ancient androids or something like that. Or maybe that's what the Borg started out as, and then they switched. I don't know. There's all I know is we got this big fucking thing that's going to destroy everything, and it's just this innocent-looking young woman who is not involved in the main plot, even though the whole main plot is getting to her. Which, if she's that important, either put her in the main plot. Enough of this subplot shit that's really not telling us anything we haven't really figured out.
Like I said, they should have gone the detective angle where we're discovering things along with Picard.
Yeah. Here's the one thing I want to bring up. It's established in the show that Daj and Soji have like at least a mother and a father. We only see the mother in like a video, right?
Yeah.
It's like, did Picard even bother trying to find the parents? Because they're obviously actors. It made out to be that
I think that he actually did, and I think that they had no record of her. It's because she doesn't exist. She's an AI construct.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Right.
But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a messy show.
It is a bit of a
and the characters are just not very interesting. They're all archetypes. You know, like you have the Han Solo, you have the Legolas.
Yeah.
You know, you have the comedic relief. You have the, you know, I don't know. It's just everyone's just an archetype character.
Yeah. I mean, that's a sad thing. Like, if this wasn't Star Trek, I might be enjoying it more. But it's like they're just making Star Trek be like every other dystopian sci-fi out there.
It would just be a generic sci-fi show. The only thing that is really selling the show is the Star Trek brand name attached to it. Like, you know, everyone's like, oh, Star Trek.
And
Picard.
Picard.
And Picard, yeah, who everyone loves. And, you know, rightfully so, Picard's great. But, and he, honestly, in the show, there's moments where it's like, that's the Picard I know. And there's moments where he is Picard. But there's other moments where he does just dumb shit, like ripping down the Romulan sign and stepping on it.
Because that's what Picard, you know, Picard, he was always fucking gung-ho about everything back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, well,
All right.
let's, is that all we got to say?
I think so.
I think so.
Let's see what happens. So maybe we'll finish strong.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see about that. All right. Well, anyway, holy shit. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see a full episode, I live stream over on Facebook. And of course, don't forget to click subscribe and check out some more videos.